This week, we've seen a serpentine sway over men, battles for tribal dominance, and fourth wall breaking antics. Let's dive right into what's on the pull list. Jumping right in, we're going to start with Absolute Wonder Woman number 12, written by Kelly Thompson with artwork by Hayden Sherman. So, Diana always puts her faith in like the best of anyone, whether that be the people that are closest to her or the people that she, quite frankly, shouldn't, the villainous people. And it always seems to work out in her benefit, which is one of the hallmarks of this character. I feel like not only does she see the best in people, but she brings out the best in people. This arc really is about ending on a higher note than where it began. The maze storyline that we've gotten here, I really didn't quite know what they were trying to build towards at the very beginning of this arc, but I feel like it really finishes in a great way. We get a little bit of world building here for the character of Absolute Wonder Woman and the world of the Absolute Universe itself. There's a lot of cool crossovers and tie-ins that they're going to build on here. I think it's going to be pretty cool. I have a lot of faith in where they're going to go from here on out. This one, not as good as the first arc, still very good. Hayden Sherman, though, Hayden still slaps. His artwork is just absolutely needed on this book. I think that it really makes it shine. Absolute Wonder Woman number 12, really great finishing point for this arc. Next up, we have Conan, Scourge of the Serpent number 1, written by Jim Zub with artwork by Ivan Gill. So this is the beginning of the next Conan event, right? The mashup that we get kind of on an annual basis now, where we take all of the Robert E. Howard properties and kind of mix and mash them and see where they fit into place, dealing with a villain that takes all of their needs to basically, to defeat. And it's pretty cool. Right now, we kind of spend a lot of time with Brule and Cull as they investigate an imposter army. Conan is a suspected murderer, basically, in one part of it. And we kind of go into the 1930s, too, as Gordon, his wife, is influenced by this mysterious ring that she's received that she can't take off of her finger now. And it's in the shape of a serpent kind of spinning around and eating its own tail. Jim Zub just does a great job at all of these stories here. They seem refreshingly classic in the ways that I love and make me feel nostalgic, but it feels fresh and bold as well. It feels something new at the same time. Not a lot of writers can do that. Jim Zub definitely does. The Black Stone event that we got last year had kind of mechanisms to get all of our Howard characters into the same place, and I don't see yet how they're going to do that. However, we can see the through line for all of these different characters. I think this was a really good introductory issue for the event. I'm really curious to see how they're going to build on it, though, because I think that this has the hallmarks that can make it even better than the Blackstone event. All right, next up we have Escape number 2, written by Rick Remender with artwork by Daniel Acuna. So I had a lot of expectations, I feel like, coming out of issue number 1 as to where this next issue was going to go. Our hero he's behind enemy lines. His plane has gone down. There's no radioing in for help. He is on his own. And I thought for sure we were going to get right into the action. And this doesn't. We get to take a step back and we learn a lot about his past and a lot about his character motivations and what he is fighting for. We find out he has a family back home. We find out that he has spent little time with his child and he's trying to do his best to model, what he feels he should be for his family and for his child. And we see a little bit about how that relationship works with his wife as well, how his head is kind of in the clouds and he kind of pushes against social norms where she keeps him grounded. And it's a nice balance that you see from that. It really goes for, it builds on like what this character is fighting for and what the stakes really are for him and why he's fighting as hard as he is. It ends on a hook. I'm really excited to see where they go here. Daniel Acuna's painterly qualities that he brings to the book is absolutely stunning. Escape really did it for me. We have a new premiere issue from Skybound, so let's talk Skinbreaker number 1, written by Robert Kirkman with artwork by David Finch. So the premise behind this is that we kind of have this aging chieftain of a tribe, and he's looking to find the next in line, and like his ally, the one that's by his side all the time, is very reluctant to take over the responsibilities and duties as chieftain out of respect for the person who the chief is. But there's also the aggressive people within the tribe, right? There's the ones that want all that power. They want to take that for themselves here because they're the strongest, they're the mightiest, but maybe not the best leaders. This was a really good intro. It's enticing. It feels like we were just talking about this actually on the monthly comic book review over at Pop Culture Philosophers, and it feels kind of like Black Panther meets Avatar, and I totally agree with that assessment. It really takes all of those great natures of those books and kind of melds them all together. From start to finish, this was a really fun book. David Finch, you could tell that this was written specifically to showcase his artwork. I've been a big fan of his all the way back from the time when he was kind of under Mark Silvestri's wing and he was doing work on Cyberforce. You're seeing some of the career best work in this introductory issue. So make sure you check out Skinbreaker. It's going to be a limited series here. I believe it's only going to go for 6 issues. This is the first one. Check it out if you haven't. Next up, we have Space Ghost number 3, written by David Pepose with artwork by Jonathan Lau. This kicks off an arc that I feel like it just feels very different than what we've gotten previously. Still as good as what we've gotten, but so different. So a cryogenically frozen Norseman is awoken in the world of Space Ghost, right? And on this futuristic landscape and planet. And it definitely causes problems, right? Space Ghost brings him to the grandfather character who we've been recently introduced to of the 2 children that work with him. And of course, it's very convenient. He's the only person that's going to be able to know and recognize what to do with this person. And it's really cool at the way that things play out. I'll praise it for the same reasons I've praised it previously. Feels classic, feels new, all at the same time. Also, it feels super heroic in the same way that we kind of don't get from superhero books sometimes nowadays. I will say Jonathan Lau's artwork is really killer here. It's just as good as it's been in every other issue, but it makes me think with some other books that we've gotten here, with the gritty nature that he brings to this, man, he would do a killer run on a Conan book as well. If you want to get a little mini arc with him, Jonathan, Jim Zub, maybe you guys get together, you talk that out, because I think that would be epic. What else is epic, though? This issue right here. I'm loving Space Ghost. It just absolutely does it for me. All right, let's talk Spider-Man and Wolverine number 5, written by Mark Guggenheim with artwork by Kari Andrews. So we should probably start there. Kari is back, and it was so needed for this series. I feel like his artwork makes this book work. And now that he's back, it does. It makes the book sing. All of the action pieces like really kind of just like get those big bold 90s feelings. It just makes the book for the silly notions that it's playing with, which is like, what if Logan killed Peter Parker's parents? It makes that silly premise really kind of sing. This book, I feel like, is for the same kind of people that would have picked up the recent Deadpool Batman book and gotten all of those nostalgic vibes from the 90s Marvel versus DC timeframe. If that book worked for you, this book will work for you. It is a love letter to 90s comics in the best ways possible. So if you dig that kind of stuff, this book is going to work for you. If you're looking for just big, bombastic, kinetic artwork, I would still highly recommend this one. All right, next up is Storm number 12, written by Mirawe Ayodelli with artwork by Mario Santoro. This was like a really fitting end to this incredible year-long arc that Mirawe has put forth, and it's been absolutely surprising. We have dealt more with celestial ideas in this book and intergalactic cosmic ideas within the Marvel Universe, more so than I ever would have expected. And it works. This book is really entertaining. The narrative that we get here as we ping pong back and forth between the Storm, Aurora fighting this kind of like primordial, like kind of like first thunder god that we've ever gotten. And then the conversations that we're getting between these celestial beings, Oblivion and the one above all, the godlike character here. The narration between these god creatures is like just pitch perfect. It makes me really excited for Mirawe to continue the series. Now, we're going to be on a break here for a little bit. It's going to come back after the Age of Revelation. But I got to say, I just want more now. That's what this book wants. I'm excited to see what Mirawe can do here, and I'm definitely excited to see if he continues at Marvel outside of that scope, because when it comes to the cosmic realm, it feels like he really has his finger on the pulse. Next up, we have Superman number 30, written by Joshua Williamson with artwork by Dan Mora. So Superman is against the ropes. Superboy Prime has betrayed him. He's working now with the Dark Side Legion of superheroes, and it really, really works in this issue in a fun way. The fourth wall breaking aspect is definitely still here. A Superboy Prime comes from like this pocket universe where Superman exists in the same way he exists for us as a character from comic books and from television, from entertainment. So he's very influenced, but also gains the powers of Superman. And he then is influenced and teams up because he's kind of broke bad in the past. He teams up with Darkseid's Legion as well. So Superman has to figure out a way to save Booster Gold, save himself, get out of the Absolute Universe, and get back to the Prime Universe where he can start warning the JLU and figuring out how they're going to fix this problem. It's a perfect lead in to DC All In Year 2. If Joshua Williamson is the architect for the DC proper side of the All In initiative, this is really working for me. I love what they're building towards. Superman feels like the jumping off point and the catalyst for all this to happen, and I really want to see how this all eventually ties into DCKO. All right, let's talk the Twilight Zone number 1, written by Dan Waters with artwork by Morgan Beam. So the premise of this issue, which is kind of like a single episode of the Twilight Zone, it's all about the trappings of immortality, and they're playing with this idea of a virus that kind of looks like a cure, but also kind of when people are exposed to it has different, I don't know, different things that are happening here without giving too much away. There's always a twist that comes along with the Twilight Zone episode, and it's no different within this issue. Dan Waters feels like he's coming at this with a large amount of love for an appreciation for the television show that was the Twilight Zone. It rings through. Also, with the artwork from Morgan, it feels classic. It doesn't emulate a realistic look like the TV show did, but there's something about the artistic qualities that they bring to this horror anthology that, I don't know, it just rings true, and I can't describe exactly what it means. What I can say, though, is that we've gotten a lot of horror anthologies recently. Like, a lot. And I can't say that they've all worked, but so far, with one issue in, Twilight Zone really did work. Next up, we have Ultimate Spider-Man number 21, written by Jonathan Hickman with artwork by David Messina. So the cabal of Mysterios has been infiltrated. There is a traitor amongst their midst, even if unwillingly so. He's still there. He's still listening in on all the things that are happening here, and he's feeding information back to the people who have taken him under their control. It was an interesting issue, but it feels very rushed, and it feels very much like we're trying to get to the end of Jonathan Hickman's run here. The story that we get also revolves around Mr. Negative, and we get a lot of his backstory and some of his interpersonal relationships and how he has started to work for, and it's kind of like the back and forth that he has with Wilson Fisk in the Ultimate Universe. It's a good setup issue. That's kind of what the purpose is here. It ends on a big bang of a cliffhanger, but it also feels, again, with the rush towards the end of the issue and the end of Jonathan Hickman's time here, it feels like this issue didn't do enough for me to kind of like, I don't know, build on those bigger ideas that he's been playing with. It feels like this was something that needed to be tacked on to make it exciting. So we'll see where it goes from here. All right, let's talk Universal Monsters, The Invisible Man, number 2, written by James Tynan with artwork by Danny. This book could feel very one note. In fact, I could say that it is very one note because the scientist character in this story isn't wholly evil, but you can tell that he definitely is not a good character. It is like kind of like right there. He wears his emotions and his feelings right on his sleeve, and his emotions and feelings are not good intentioned for the most part. But what the story I feel like does is lets us live in his head and live within his perspective so that we can see all of the little microaggressions that happen or that he really inflicts upon himself that gets him into the mindset and to the point where he keeps escalating this over and over and over. The artwork here by Danny, again, I've said it before and I'll say it right here. It's the perfect choice for this book. The thick ink lines, the shadows, the darkness of the alleyways, it all works. The artistic approach here is just absolutely needed for this type of book. And I'm so glad that she was the person that they chose to kind of bring that forward. The horror here also totally works. There's a lot of things here, not just from our main character, but just the world building that's happening here that make it very dreadful, right? There is the experiment that our scientist works on that is kind of the catalyst through this issue. And even though it's something that could be innocent, it's terrifying knowing that the invisibility nature of it is kind of being played with throughout the entirety of it. So in regard to that story, it really works. In regard to comparison to the other Universal Monster properties, It's pretty high, but it hasn't reached that top tier yet. Next up, let's talk Wild Animals number 3, written by Ed Brisson with artwork by Andy Kuhn. So our main character Neil is realizing that maybe his plan was just a bit ill-conceived. He's ditched the body that he had in his, on his person, and now he just doesn't know where to go. He doesn't know what to do, and after he's kind of done the act, he's starting to get into his own head and realizing this probably isn't the act that his father would have wanted him to take. It's probably not the act that his father would have taken. And is he maybe doing his legacy a disservice by getting vengeance upon those who had killed him in the past? So it's a really introspective issue, and I like that, but it was definitely a slower issue because of that. We get to spend a lot of time with our character just trying to figure out kind of what the next move is, if there is a next move to be had. What I do like here is that they take time, specifically within the diner, where there's a well-meaning, good-hearted individual that is trying to help Neil, even though he doesn't know him. He kind of senses that something is astray with this person, and he probably needs a helping hand. And I really like that they took the time to spend on that. But as an issue, a little bit slow here. I think I need a little bit more. We'll find out what the next issue delivers. Next up, we have Wonder Woman number 25, written by Tom King with artwork by Daniel Sampere. So, first and foremost, thank God the verbiage is opening up here. Diana's influence over the people of this Mouseman Island is being felt, and you can start to see that where people are opening up and starting to be able to say more things. And I needed it from a reader's perspective. The last couple issues have been incredibly difficult to get through. And that's not to say that this one was easy to get through either. Diana is trying her best to help these people on the island, specifically this one girl that she meets up with, and finds out that there's a team of resistance fighters, basically, that are working directly against the Mouse Man, who have been able to kind of break free of his influence and have their own language. It was an okay issue. Was it better than the previous ones? Yes. Was it at the same tier of the best issues of Wonder Woman during Tom King's run? Absolutely not. We do get the introduction of a new character that is supposed to play a big part in Tom King's continuing run here. Time will tell. Being that it's introduced in this issue, though, kind of didn't work for me. And with my runner-up pick of the week, let's talk Green Arrow number 28, written by Chris Condon with artwork by Montos. So Green Arrow continues his investigation as he saves another victim here who has been overdosed here with these arrows that are filled with a heroin-like substance. Montos has another great outing here. I feel like his artwork really just shines through on this, with it being kind of a gritty street level type of superhero book. I love the scene where Roy and his daughter are on patrol, right? And it's kind of just the back and forth conversation where Roy's trying to get his footing again here now that he has kind of been discharged from the hospital and he's kind of back in the swing of things here. But his daughter, kind of, I don't know, the back and forth there's a great relationship aspect that's being built on there. The other thing that's being built on here is Chris Condon's appreciation for the legacy of this character. They've done a great job at staying true to the hard traveling hero aspect of the character of Green Arrow and Oliver Queen. And they play with those ideas, but they modernize them, right? But they also, they don't make him a different character because of it. Is he perfect? No. In fact, that's what makes him great. He's an imperfect character. He does his best, though, and that's where he really shines. And I love what they're doing within this book. Now, it's been revealed that issue number 31 is going to be the last of this series, and Chris Condon and Montos' time on the book. That sucks. There's no two ways about it. But let's appreciate what we get here. Green Arrow was definitely worthy of it. And with my top comic of the week, let's talk Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, Rites of Spring number 3, written and drawn by Patrick Horvath. Yikes. Good lord, that was a brutal issue, both visually and narratively. We get so much more of the backstory of the character that is Samantha, and she is even more twisted than you could have even imagined, which is crazy to think of considering what we got in the very first series of Beneath the Trees. We get just so much more, introspective natures of living within her head and seeing some of the motivations and seeing the fact that these little ticks, the things that make her do the things that she does, have kind of been there forever. And you're in danger no matter who you are and how close you are to her. The town itself within this book is also really great. It shines. It becomes a character unto itself, right? All of the townspeople as well. They've, because of the first series and how they've built on that within the second series, it feels like people you already know. It feels like that small town attitude that, if you've lived there, you kind of know those character archetypes like through and through. And I think that's what makes it really work well here, because it makes you feel for the characters that are being put in danger with every single page of this book, whether it be from Samantha or someone else. I never thought that they would be able to pull off a sequel to the first series here. They're doing it, and they're doing it arguably even better than that first series. So, Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, Rites of Spring #3 was absolutely worthwhile of Top Comic of the Week. So that's what I've got for you this week, but I'm more curious. What did you read, and what were your thoughts? Do me a favor, like, share, and subscribe, and be part of the panel. Leave me a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. We'll talk to you next week.